Hey, Dubbie crew, it's me, Gigantic Tall John, here coming at you through the interwebs with another talkie for you. And in this talkie, I'd like to go over something that's near and dear to all of our hearts as Magic the Gathering players and as Dungeons and Dragons players, particularly now for the Dungeons and Dragons players, because we're all under the same Wizards of the Coast umbrella, and right now for both Magic the Gathering players and for Dungeons and Dragons players, Wizards of the Coast is just the enemy. They are an evil entity that is destroying both games, in particular Dungeons & Dragons right now with the new OGL license. I'm still reviewing a lot of those details to be able to jump in and make some more video content for it, but here's something that's applicable for that as well for all of you Dungeons & Dragons fans out there too. I hear you, even if Wizards of the Coast doesn't. I think they do hear you, but they clearly are not listening to you. So I think as a community, we've all come to the conclusion that Wizards of the Coast is an enemy. Here's our problem as a community. Before I jump into this here, I want to make it clear that I'm on your side as well. Wizards of the Coast has signaled that they are willing to go to combat with the people that they're selling products to. That is clear from the signals that they're sending. They are saying they want to sell products, and we are saying as a community we're still going to buy them, but we are clearly saying that we're not happy. And they're clearly saying that they are willing to revisit those decisions. That's either honest or it's not. At this point, the safest thing that we can do is jump right in and say, WOTC'S, you're our enemy, and we're going to learn how to fight you. Because here's the truth for all of us. Now that I've shown that I'm on your side as well, community of Magic players and community of D&D players, we need to fight this enemy, and instead of fighting them, we're falling into every single trap that they could possibly set for us. Every last one. We think the fireside chat when it came to Magic the Gathering mattered in some way. We think it was very telling that Cynthia Williams had to read off the Wikipedia page to even know about what was happening with those games. We think those things mattered, and as a community, if we think those things mattered, I want to be really clear, we've signaled to Wizards of the Coast, we don't have a clue what we're talking about then. Here's something that really does matter, and this is where we can start by using some of this ammunition to actually fight Wizards of the Coast. Sun Tzu said that you should know your enemy. If you think you're better than Sun Tzu, I guess ignore this whole video, but if you think that maybe there was something to learn there, I agree. I think there's a lot to learn there, and we're going to jump into some of this together. The first person that I'd like to go after would be the CEO of Wizards of the Coast, and that's Cynthia Williams. By go after her, what I mean is, have you ever sat down and wondered, why is she the CEO of Wizards of the Coast? She's been CEO for a little less than a year now. She was picked to replace Chris Cox, because after Chris Cox was CEO of Wizards of the Coast, he actually moved all the way up to CEO of Hasbro. So Hasbro clearly thought that Chris Cox was doing well. But have you sat and wondered why they picked an outsider, someone who wasn't already with Wizards of the Coast, to run Wizards of the Coast as CEO, instead of one of the many people that would be within Wizards of the Coast that have been there for decades and would have a love and passion for the game? From what I can see, everyone online who would be attempting to address something like this question has gone with this path on the left. Why would Cynthia Williams run Wizards of the Coast? Well, that's really easy to understand. Companies have to make a profit. They have to make money. I tell you guys that all the time. So I agree entirely so far. Companies have to make money. That's what they have to do. What most of us are doing next, and a special shout out to people like Brian with Tolarian Community College, for Saffron Olive with MTG Goldfish, for Mitch with Commander Quarters, for all of our big YouTubers that we're watching. The next thing they do is they make this angry face here, and they say, evil corporate greed. That's it. That's all I need to hear. Evil corporate greed. Evil corporate greed. Evil, 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 greed, greed, greed. They just want money. Money. That wanting it, evil, 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 evil. Watch my ads on my video. I want to also make money. Not evil when I want to do it, not greedy when I want to do it, just greedy when they want to do it. It's greedy when it's big enough, when it's small enough, or when I like it, not greedy. That's what they're telling you, point blank. They're just saying, oh yeah, evil corporation. And many of you probably have the same sentiment. Here's what I'm going to say. I'm not going to disagree with you. If you believe corporations by their very nature are evil, great. I'm kind of on the same page, to be honest. They really just care about making money. That's it. They don't have any deeper morality to it. If they could make money by skinning babies alive, that's what they would do. They would do exactly that if that would be the best path for them to make money. You can view that as evil. Rather than getting into the morality or even disagreeing with you guys as a community, what I'm going to point out is when you're saying it's an evil corporation and you put on your very fancy angry face with the eyebrows and you cross your arms, what you're also doing is you're lowering your head and you're finding a brick wall. This is your really fancy brick wall that's drawn here. And this is you, the little guy who's saying that it's an evil corporation and not looking any deeper. And what you're doing is you're crossing your arms, you've got your nice angry face, you lower your head, and you run right into that brick wall. And then you notice the brick wall hasn't moved, because brick wall doesn't move just because you hit it with your head. And you lower your head and you run into it. And you say while you're running into it, I said it's evil. I said it's greedy. I said it's evil and greedy. And that's it. And you keep doing that for Magic the Gathering players for about 30 years. That's what you guys have been doing. You just keep running into that wall, hoping it'll budge because you crush your head against it. So here's my advice. If I could be so bold as to give you some advice here, you can maintain this level of thought. You can say, yes, it's an evil corporation. I'm going to ask you to recognize that at this point, you're just running into a brick wall. You don't have a path beyond that. Now that you've said it's an evil corporation and you've said that all they care about is greed, great, what do you do? Do you change it? Do you have a plan to change it? Do you just sit there saying it's greedy, hoping the company will wake up and say, oh, I didn't know we were greedy. I do want to make money, but I didn't want to be greedy. Now that you've called me greedy for the 417th time, I'll change. Let's give all the money back. No, they're not going to do anything like that. Are you dumb? Don't be dumb. They're not going to do anything. You're just sitting around saying they're greedy. So here's what I'm going to say. Don't change your opinion. I'm not asking you to change your values. I'm not asking you to change your morality. I'm telling you, they've heard that you think they're greedy. They've heard that. That didn't change them. Are you ready to try something else? We're going to take this really slow, just a nice, easy introduction into another way of thinking about this, because we still haven't answered the question. Why did they pick Cynthia Williams? Why not Mark Rosewater? Why not someone else who would be important within the D&D community? I'm sorry, D&D community, I don't know who would be super important with that with WOTC, but they've had the game for a long time. The people who love that game are very passionate about that game. Why wouldn't one of those people who creates Dungeons and Dragons be good to run it as a CEO? And there is an obvious reason. No one had Cynthia Williams' work history. They didn't have her work experience, which is what I'm going to ask you to review as this other path. They didn't have that work experience, and because they didn't have that work experience, they didn't have something unique that she can bring to allow the company to make as much profit and money as they possibly can. I also want to clarify, at this point, I'm not saying whether Cynthia Williams is doing a good job or not, and the main reason is because at the moment, she's done some things that seem like she has a lot of skill, and some other things that seem like she doesn't have any idea what she's doing. But the most important reason for me is she hasn't even been CEO for a full fiscal year yet. If you haven't been in charge of a company for a full year, I have nothing to base your credibility on at all. At the moment, her credibility is zero. However, her work history shows me something that you're going to be very interested in, and not for a good reason, because I think she's going to be a very formidable opponent for you. Let's go through her work history in brief. Without going into the specific years or what the specific roles were, before she worked for Wizards of the Coast as a CEO, she had fairly high-level management roles with several different companies. Some of those companies, in order, were Philip Morris. If you're not familiar with Philip Morris, that's a tobacco company. They make cigarettes, other types of tobacco products. They do a lot of different things. Fairly large company, very old and established company. Next, she moved from there to Amazon, specifically in a logistics division, but she had a lot to do with Amazon and their shipping and logistics. And then after Amazon, she went to work for Microsoft, specifically under Xbox, so in their gaming division. And then from there, she moved up to Wizards of the Coast as the CEO. So here's my question for you. I'm not just saying this because I scouted her out on LinkedIn, although all of that information is public. You could go find it yourself as well. Please do. Correct me where I'm wrong on this, but this is all public information. Here's the important part. What's common between all of those companies? And all of them, I'm including Wizards of the Coast, because there is one thing in common that all of those companies share. Well, in addition to being large, evil corporations. I agree, they're all large, evil corporations. Great. What else do they have in common? And I'm going to pause here for a second, because I want you to get engaged with this question. If you think you know the answer, It is here on the board, but I've got it covered up. It's super secret. I don't want to give it away yet. I want to see if you can get the quiz answer right. If you think you know the answer, I'm going to give you the answer in a couple seconds here, but yell it at your screen. Just yell it. Throw it in the comments. I know I'll be reading them later. It doesn't matter. Throw them in there. There is something large that unites Philip Morris, Amazon, Microsoft, and Wizards of the Coast. Any ideas yet? I'll give you a hint. It's something about the consumers that they all work with. There is some unifying trait between all the consumers for those different companies. Any clues? Nothing yet? All right. Here's the sad truth for you. Addiction. Philip Morris makes cigarettes. If you weren't aware that cigarettes are addictive, you're about 60 years too late. Some amount of time that is very large. We know cigarettes and tobacco products are addictive. Everyone knows that at this point. Amazon might seem surprising for you, but if you think about it for a second, no, it's not. What's the most common meme about Amazon, other than being an evil corporation and other than sucking everyone's souls out through their eyelids or whatever their 2024 fiscal plan is? Other than that, isn't the most common meme that you go to order something from Amazon and then you plaster yourself right up against the window saying, "Is it here yet? It's been 10 minutes. Where's my package? I need my fix. I need my package." Tell me that's not addiction. It's addiction. You're addicted to getting things through Amazon. That's their most common consumer. The most common smoker for Philip Morris is addicted, because everyone who's a smoker is addicted to tobacco. That's kind of how it works. Microsoft, and with Xbox specifically, in particular things like microtransactions and loot boxes, that's part of the issue with a lot of those games and with pretty much all of modern gaming today. Loot boxes and those types of things are viewed as gambling. And what's the one thing we know about gambling? It's very addictive. And for Wizards of the Coast, if you're a Dungeons and Dragons player, or you're a Magic the Gathering player, or any of the other games they produce, but I'm going to stick with the two flagship ones for now, what might be hard for you to hear is you're most likely an addict. You are addicted to the game. That explains why you're so upset over changes to this as well, and it explains why Cynthia Williams was selected. There is nothing better for the profits of a company than being able to sell products to people who are addicted to them. Now, many people who play Magic the Gathering and many people who play Dungeons and Dragons are not addicted, but those are not the ones who are upset online. If you're upset online, you are upset in part because your fix, the thing that you're addicted to, is under attack. And Cynthia Williams knows that far better than you do. She knows, after decades of working for these types of companies in this specific direction, exactly how addiction works. That should scare you. If someone knows how addiction works, then you're in trouble. If you're the addict, she has a tool that she can use against you, and you don't have a tool in reverse yet. But I will tell you this, you now know more than you did 10 or 15 minutes ago. You know now that the reason that she's doing the steps that she's doing, the reason the company is moving in the direction that it's moving, is not to attract more hybrid players, although that is also true. That's not their main purpose. Their main goal in making money is to sell products and services to addicts, to people who realistically can't turn somewhere else. They can't just put down the game and go play another one. They're addicted to the game they're playing now. This is a hard truth to run into, but I do think it's the truth. I do think it's what's happening to most of the community. And that includes the people higher up in the community that you think would know better, because that's not how addiction works. I believe that every person is addicted to something. It isn't necessarily a negative. I'm not making a moral judgment here on you either. But for people like Tolarian Community College, for people like MTG Goldfish, they're addicts. If you don't believe me, what's the most popular comic about Magic the Gathering right now? Isn't it called Cardboard Crack? Why is that joke funny? You know why. You're an addict. That's why you're playing this. And you're worried that your fix is going to go away, and you're not going to cope with that well, because addicts don't cope well with their fix being taken away. Here's the first step. I don't think I can cure you of this addiction. I don't even think there's a cure, per se. That's not how it works. I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing. What would be bad is not recognizing that the biggest issue here is she knows how to pull and push all the levers to make sure that addiction is the main thing that's pushed out. And she's doing that, and it is working. That's why they're seeing those profits. It is why it's making you upset. You sense that your addiction, the fix that you receive, the dopamine hit that you receive, is going to be fading, or you might not be able to continue it the way that you did in the past. In my next video, we're going to use this information, we're going to take this as a statement of truth, and I'm going to show you how to start building a community that can fight against this. Instead of running into the brick wall, let's lean into what we know, let's go seek out that information, and let's win this fight the way that a Magic the Gathering or Dungeons and Dragons player would win the fight. By gathering the knowledge, creating the scenario on our terms, and then winning through the metagame. Until then, I'm John with DubbieDubbie. I'm hoping that you'll subscribe, like, and comment on the video, and join our WW Subby crew. You can put that up on the screen there as well, Grace. And we'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.